Hello everyone, I'm Susan Anderson and this is Susan So Creative, where it's only wrong when it doesn't work. I'd like to show you some fun ways to add depth and texture to your project. There are lots of ways we can do this. Today I'm going to show you how to add chenille and yarn by couching. Couching is a method of embroidery to attach a medium to a base fabric that goes as far back as ancient Egypt. This technique can be done with free motion or with a running pattern on your sewing machine. I'll even show you how to make a chenille applique. Chenille It at www.fauxchenille.com is a product that has been pre-cut in two different sizes, both at 3/8 and at 5/8. Using the ribbon and sequin foot, and I've listed the part below in the description, to guide the 3/8 inch wide chenille tape as I sew. To get started, I've attached my ribbon and sequin foot to my machine and I've moved the guide all the way over to the left, and you can do that with the little serrated wheel that is right here. This is my chenille. This is 3/8 inch wide, and what I'm going to do with this is just slide this into the front of my presser foot, just like so. This is where the sequins or ribbon would go, and then I'm going to just use my stylus and push that through. It comes out the back of the presser foot. Okay, now you can either draw lines on your fabric if you have a particular pattern you want to follow, or you can just go ahead and just start stitching. I'm going to make sure that I have a piece of tearaway on underneath my presser foot. Now this, you can iron this on or you can just use a plain piece. It's up to you. Since we're using a presser foot, it's a little easier, but you do need to have a stabilizer underneath. And at this point, we're just going to go ahead and sew. Now you can use any kind of a guide you want. You want your quilter's guide down or whatever. That works too. But you want to make sure that that is stitching right in the center. And you know what? It's not quite in the center yet. I'm going to move that a little bit more so I get that right where I want to. And I'm actually going to put that at 5.0. There we go. Now I like it. Okay. So I can just go ahead and run that through like so. When I finish a row, I'm going to go ahead and clip it. Let my presser foot raise up. I'm going to slide this straight back. I'm going to clip the chenille, hold the tail because I'm going to move the fabric and it's going to move my chenille if I don't. Now you can roll this up if you want to get it closer. You can stitch it right down on top too as well, because remember, you've moved the needle, so even though you're covering the chenille edge like this, I'm still going to be getting not stitching through the previous row. So I'm just going to move the edge of my guide right along the previous stitching line, and it's going to feed that right through for me like so. And we're going to slide this straight back again and clip it. And you can continue to do that. Now you can see how that's not stitched through, but it's right close together. Now what this does is after you get this all done, or you have your pattern done the way you want to have it completed, then you're ready to go ahead and just wash your fabric, and it will actually peel away the extra, get this all so that it's fuzzy. You can see how that's going to fuzz up. There's also a brush that you can get to chenille it if you don't want to wash it. But see how that all will get nice and fluffy when you do it. You can see here on this project where I've actually washed it a couple of times and how it's gotten all nice and fuzzy because the edges are all raw, and it's all on a bias, so it's not going to come out. So it's just a matter of how close you put your stitches together or your rows of chenille together in order to get the pattern or technique that you want. To do chenille embroidery in the hoop, the first thing we're going to want to do is, of course, pick our project to work on. Now I did this one manually here, but I'm actually going to do an embroidered chenille up here, and it's built in my machine. It happens to be little paws. In order to get the hoop, in order to get the bag attached to my hoop, I'm going to use a sticky back stabilizer. Now this is just a tearaway, not a washout, because I am doing a woven. So we're just going to hoop the stabilizer like so. Got that nice and snug. Make sure my frame is all completely down and solid. Then I'm going to go ahead and just score, and we're just going to score the wax piece. You can also use a stylus if you prefer. Don't use the edge of your scissors though. Not good for the tips of your scissors, number one. Number two, you could go entirely through the paper, which you do not want to do. Okay, now that I've got this set up, I'm going to go ahead and determine where I want it on my bag. So I will do my based feature around the outside edge of this as well. Now at my machine, I've gone ahead and selected the little paw print and just placed 3 of them into my hoop. I'm going to want to move that up just a little bit, I think. Get these just a little closer together, I think. Yeah. Once I've got them the way I want, all right, that looks good. I'm going to go ahead and attach my hoop to the machine. Now, I've already set up my machine, so I have the yarn going through the attachment that attaches to the needle bar here. Yarn goes through here, and then the presser foot, you get 2 presser feet with the accessory, and this is the smaller of the 2 for a lighter weight yarn. And this will actually hold the yarn directly under the needle while it is stitching. So I'm just going to slide this into position like so. And I want to make sure I get my machine, my bag completely out of the way for the embroidery part. And I'm going to go ahead and press the OK. Now this is one time you do not want to leave your machine while it is embroidering. If it's just doing regular embroidery, yeah, I do walk away from it. But with the couching, and this is couching, that we're actually stitching down a 3rd medium. In this case, it's just a yarn. It's an acrylic yarn. Get a craft shop. It's not something super special. It's something you have to order special. Just go find a yarn you like and play with it that way. But we're going to go ahead and do this. I'm going to go ahead and just go and do a trace around the perimeter of the design area to make sure that I'm going to be stitching well in my design space. I don't want to be stitching way up onto the... Do want to baste it, so I am going to take my yarn out of... Drop that presser foot down. Take my yarn out of the presser foot temporarily, okay? Because we are going to do a baste on this, because I want to make sure that this bag isn't going to pull up as it's stitching. So we're just going to go ahead and touch the baste feature and press start and just let it run. Now it's not stitching with the yarn this time, it's just going to do your baste. Okay, now to attach the yarn to the presser foot, it actually has a opening just to the right here, or to the left rather. There we go. Just slide it right in against that, and I've also matched my thread. I have black thread and I'm doing black yarn. And I've dropped my speed all the way down to 400 stitches per minute. It just makes it easier for me because, like I said, I'm in a special setup with having to deal with the bag and everything else. I just want it to run slower so I can control. Make sure you have a loop, I'm going to stop that right now and trim off this extra. And you want to make sure that the yarn is not tight as it's going through the machine. So make sure you have a little extra give as it's feeding. Now this is a pattern that is designed for chenille. It's not something I changed, developed, or altered. Okay, let it attach for the next piece, and then stop to trim off the extra yarn, because it's going from one location to another. And you don't need to worry about, this is all locked in place, so I don't need to bring the yarn back to the back side of the fabric or anything else, because it overstitches it. Okay, and it attaches, and I'm just going to clip that off and clip that off and start it back up again. Let it take a couple of stitches. Stop it, trim off the extra yarn, The reason I'm stopping and trimming is because I don't want that extra yarn to possibly get looped around the foot and getting caught and then stalling the machine out. Okay, now I just want to show you how this works. And there I have my little tote bag. And I've just, like I said, I manually did this one with just a free motion foot. And then here is the embroidered chenille. But isn't that cute the way that turns out? And it's nice and soft and fuzzy. Okay, to create my own chenille applique, I've taken 4 layers of red cotton fabric, and I'm going to stitch it on the bias from corner to corner. These are 6-inch squares, and I've set my quilter's guide at 1/2 inch, and I'm just going to run that down the previous row of stitching after I stitch corner to corner. And I'm just going to continue that all the way through until my block is complete. After I've done the outline stitch of my design, and I'm doing the letter J, I'm going to go ahead and take my fabric that I've already done my parallel rows of stitching on, and I'm going to clip through the top 3 layers, leaving the bottom layer completely solid. And I'm going to cut that right down the center between all the rows of stitching. Now that all of the rows are slit open, I'm going to go ahead and make sure that I cover my outline stitching of my base line. I want to make sure I've got it completely covered. There we go. And I am now ready. Yeah, we're all right. I'm now ready to go ahead and stitch my next row of. This was going to tack it down, just like a regular applique now. After I've gotten the extra fabric trimmed away from the outside edge of that last row of stitching, I'm now going to do the final stitching with the satin stitch going around the outside edge. So with my Project still in the hoop and tacked down, I'm going to take an emery board and I'm just going to rough up these edges and get them to curl. And that's how you get your chenille applique. I hope you enjoyed exploring some of the wonderful techniques shown today. Remember to test your setup before going to your project. You want to check your thread color, your stitch length, and your tension. Join me next time. I'm Susan Anderson, and this is Susan So Creative, where it's only wrong when it doesn't work.